My name is Tracy. I'm sitting in a stuffy probate court right now, watching my brother Lucas try to convince a judge that I'm a danger to myself and should be locked away. He's using the same cold, clinical language he uses in his dental practice, painting me as an unstable mess. Behind him, my parents are pretending to be heartbroken, dabbing at their eyes with fancy handkerchiefs. It's a perfect act, but I'm not falling for it. I just touched the small recorder in my pocket and remember the text Lucas sent me. "We're doing this for your own good." I knew then that good was just an excuse. To understand how I ended up here, you have to go back a few months to the reading of my grandfather's will. My family is part of an old, wealthy community in Charleston. My grandfather was a respected art collector, and he'd always seen through the shallow facades of my family members. When the lawyer read the will, it was a bombshell. He left his entire estate, worth millions, and his private art collection to me. To Tracy, the quiet artist who lived in a small cottage on the property and smelled like paint. Lucas got nothing, and neither did my parents. My parents, Robert and Elizabeth, have always favored Lucas. He's the high-profile dentist, the social butterfly, the one they pinned all their hopes on. I was just the background, there to make him look better. Lucas had racked up huge debts from his gambling addiction, which he tried to pass off as bad business investments. Grandfather knew that if he left the estate to Lucas, it would be gone in no time. After the lawyer left, the real show began. Elizabeth, who's always been manipulative, immediately tried to convince me that Lucas was in trouble. She said he owed dangerous people money and that we had to sell the estate to save him and the family name. I finally saw the chains that had bound me my whole life. I was never a daughter. I was a tool. Whenever Lucas failed, it was my fault. Whenever he got into trouble, I was the scapegoat. But this time, I refused. I told them I wasn't selling the estate to cover his gambling debts. I said I wanted to turn the main house into a retreat for women who had suffered financial and emotional abuse, a place where they could heal through art. The silence that followed was deafening. Robert's face turned red with anger, and Lucas laughed coldly. He looked at me with pure hatred and said, "You'd rather help strangers than your own family?" I looked him in the eye and said, "Yes. They deserve a chance, and you deserve consequences." That's when the war started. A few days later, I went into my studio, which had been my safe place since I was young. The air usually smelled of paint and wood, but that day, it smelled of something metallic. I saw my easel was knocked over, and then I saw the canvas. It was a portrait of my grandfather I'd been working on for months. It was slashed to pieces, and red paint was splattered everywhere, making it look like a crime scene. Then, Lucas stepped out from the shadows, wearing his white dental coat. He had a fake look of concern on his face, but his eyes were cold. He said he'd try to tell my parents I was losing it, that this was a manic episode. He called the police, and when they arrived, they saw the mess and me, standing there in shock. Lucas was a respected professional in the community, and I was just the reclusive artist. It was easy for them to believe his story. I wanted to scream and tell them the truth, but I knew that's what Lucas wanted. If I fought back, I'd look like the unstable person he was trying to paint me as. So I stayed silent. They took me away, and I spent the next 72 hours in a psychiatric ward. It was a test of my willpower. I knew that every hour I stayed calm was a crack in Lucas's story. My friend Lily got me out. She brought my medical records, which showed I had no history of mental illness, and threatened to sue the hospital if they didn't release me. When I walked out into the sunlight, I expected more trouble. Instead, I found my parents on my porch. They were acting all remorseful, saying they didn't know Lucas had gone so far. They invited me to a reconciliation dinner on Sunday, promising to cut Lucas off from the family trust. I knew it was a trap, but I decided to go as a witness. I took a modified antique brooch with a hidden camera and microphone. At the dinner, Lucas was there, calm and unrepentant. When Robert poured the wine, I smelled the sedative. I pretended to drink, then waited. Soon, I pretended to be drugged, and they started whispering about their plan to force me to sign power of attorney and declare me mentally unfit. In court the next day, Lucas testified against me, and my parents played their parts well. Just when the judge was about to grant the conservatorship, my lawyer presented the video. Their voices filled the courtroom, confessing their plot. Lucas panicked, shouting deep fake, but then another video showed him destroying my painting. By damaging the art, he triggered a clause in the will that made him forfeit his inheritance. The judge ordered all three of them arrested. 6 months later, the estate reopened as an art sanctuary. I kept the ruined portrait as a reminder of my survival. For the first time, I'm moving forward without carrying the lies of my family.